And then I'm going to walk around while Tammy's speaking and share our commemorative DNC buttons with everyone. Okay? So, it was hotter than hell in Philly.
We lost 5 pounds.
You were feeling the burn?
Yeah, I did too. That seems to be the norm. If you were in Philly, you came back 5 pounds lighter. No time to eat, not enough water, and it was just a sweat box. But other than that, the people were amazing across the board. Whether they were the Philly locals, the Philadelphia police, or just our fellow Bernie-crats and Berners who came there to support the movement. Everybody was just amazing. And we spent most of the time in the park, so we were able to experience most of what was going on the main stage, and just the array of talent of speakers and performers and the number of people that were there. It was just incredible. So we had intended on staying through Thursday, and after the roll call, we were pretty disheartened. So we took off Wednesday morning and to decide what we were going to do with the rest of the trip, and decided we were going on vacation. So that's what we did, and we just got back like at midnight Wednesday night. So had a great time, and I'm going to turn over to Tammy, and I'll come around and share the pins with you.
Well, first of all, I don't need that. I do not need that. Trust me. She will hear me back there. First of all, you have to understand, we drove straight through 52 hours to get to Philadelphia. We were crossing our fingers we were going to be there for the first 2 marches. We really wanted to be there, but with the time change, the phone's updated, but the car didn't. And so we thought we were there on time, but we were late for the first 2. Shahela, my daughter, 13-year-old daughter, she had stubbed her toe and a couple of weeks ago twisted her ankle, kind of sprained. So marching was becoming an issue, and so we didn't do that. Scott took the day shift. I took the night shift. Now, if you've ever driven straight through, you got to know the day shift's the easier shift. Because at night, everybody else is asleep, and there's nothing to look at. So I had a really hard time keeping myself awake. I could barely sleep during the day, so it was a real struggle there and back. But we made it, and I was happy to do it. It has been the most life-altering, with the exception of my 2 children, most life-altering experience. Now, if many of you don't know me, I do everything 100%, as you can tell. My emotions are just as 100%. And it's hard for me not to cry. I don't think we should repress what we feel.
Yes.
So, being able to go there, take my 13-year-old daughter, and I have to say the very first wall that was put up in this country was at the DNC. They put not just 1, but 2 8-foot walls up to keep us from exercising our right of peaceful assembly at the convention. We weren't anywhere near it. It was just very frustrating. But to be able to take my daughter to that event, to walk through all these people, and she has declared herself to me. She's 13, and she knows that she's bisexual. And it's very hard for a 13-year-old girl to acknowledge that within her own family, even though she knows she can with me. There's no judgment in my house whatsoever, and there never has been. But what's most important for her when she was there was to see the LGBT community representing themselves, speaking out in public about their right to love whoever they want. And that was the most important thing for me, for my daughter. That was an awesome experience. Not to mention being able for her to see the history of all of that. So like Scott said, you know, it was really day 2. We got there Sunday, late Sunday. Monday was kind of rough, but no, Monday was the roughest day. I seriously thought I was this close to heat stroke. I really thought I mean, I was freaking out, and I don't freak out very easily. So fortunately they had medics. The city was awesome, water everywhere. I mean, I was sweating. There was no problem, I was sweating. But we had driven 52 miles. My body hadn't caught up with me yet. So I was still struggling with all of that. After Tuesday, I was fine. No problem with the heat. I was able to get out there and sweat like everybody else and not be bothered by it and be stinky and not worry about being stinky. And I just want to add to the rain thunderstorm story. Jill Stein was speaking, and Shahila said, "Mom, we got to get out of here because we could see it coming through. We could see it coming in. We could see the clouds and the thundering and lightning. There's video, and when I have an opportunity, I'll put it out there." And so we were like, "No, we're from Washington. Come on, a little water isn't going to hurt us." So we stayed, right? And it was fine. But the thing was, the lightning was pretty dangerous. So Scott and Shahila and I found ourselves camping out in the porta potties. We were having a porta potty party, waiting for the rain because we were on our car was on the other side of the park, so we had to take all of our stuff across the park to get to the car. And it's pretty open, and so we just hung out there. That was pretty interesting. And flash flooding. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that flash flooding was possible in Philly. Of course, I've never been there. So then roll call day. That was my heart right there. Seeing all those people standing at that wall and pounding that wall. They were pounding that wall. And they were saying, "Bernie or bust," or "Jill not Hill," or whatever it was. They were just pounding. And while the roll call was happening, there were lots of boos and there were lots of yays. And after it was over, you know, and the distinguished senator from Vermont made a motion to suspend the rules, and he did not release his delegates, right? Nor did he concede. Right. Every person walked back to that wall, and they started pounding. I can tell you this: we met so many people from from West Coast to the East Coast, North, South. This revolution is very much alive. There are people like you and I still in it, and we're all still Bernie fucking Sanders. Woo! Yeah. So I'm concerned. So after that, after our political, we went to Gettysburg. We went to Carlisle. We went to Washington, D.C. We walked them all. We saw Jefferson. We saw Lincoln. We saw FDR. We saw MLK. I have pictures of sayings that are engraved in their memorials of the things that Bernie has been telling us all along. We must rise up for ourselves and those who refuse to rise up for themselves.
Thank you.
So that we can bring it all back together the way it's supposed to be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tammy and Scott, and thank you for coming.
One last thing, an incident, we were up along the wall, and this young man came walking by with a Trump shirt on and a Trump hat. And
I remember him.
There was one guy.
one guy, a young man. So I asked him if I could take his picture. And he said, "Oh yeah." So I took his picture, and he said, "You know, Bernie got screwed." He said, "The election that should be happening in November is Bernie versus Trump.
That's right.
You guys got screwed." That's coming from a young Trump supporter. Well, how he'll end up voting, I don't know, but he saw the truth.
Yeah, that's right.